The Galactic Trade Confederation had strict rules regarding the treatment of prisoners of war. Under these rules, high-value captives, particularly engineers, mechanics, and technical experts, were to be sequestered, studied, and if possible, recruited to improve the Confederation's technology. It was a simple enough plan. At least, that was what High Warden Zeldar believed when he received word that the Korvax Dominion had captured a group of human mechanics during an incursion on the outskirts of the neutral system, Beltheron. Humans? Zeldar muttered, scrolling through the report. His bioluminescent eyes flickered with mild annoyance as he read the details. Primitive, aggressive, and entirely too stubborn for their own good. He leaned back in his gravity-cushioned chair, his exoskeletal fingers tapping against the control panel. The Korvax had forwarded a list of names. Chief Engineer Nathan Reyes. Senior Technician Claudia Voss. Weapons Specialist Hugo Patel. Propulsion Engineer Samir Okafor. Combat Repairman Elias Green. Zeldar sighed. Humans. Even their names sounded rough, like words scraped from raw stone. This will be a disaster, he grumbled, sending the list to his intelligence officers for analysis. But if we can extract their knowledge, our fleets will have an advantage. He had no idea just how badly he had miscalculated. The prison station, Sector 44X. The prison was a marvel of galactic engineering, a deep space facility stationed in the frozen belt of Ilthar, 7. The Korvax had designed it to hold the most dangerous prisoners in the galaxy, war criminals, rogue AI, and species too volatile to integrate into civilized society. The humans were placed in Block 17, a high-security section meant for tech specialists and engineers. The logic was sound. Keep them away from weapons, military officers, or anyone capable of leading an insurrection. At first, everything seemed fine. The humans complied with orders, worked when assigned menial tasks, and didn't even attempt to escape. But the guards should have been paying attention to what they were working on. The first sign of trouble. Warden Zeldar was reviewing reports when he first noticed an anomaly. Energy consumption in Block 17 had spiked, by nearly 40%. He frowned. That was impossible. Prisoners were only allocated enough energy for basic needs. Commander Trevik, explain the discrepancy, Zeldar ordered. The insectoid commander clicked his mandibles, pulling up the surveillance footage. The screen flickered to life, revealing something concerning. The humans were fixing things. Not just simple repairs, full-scale maintenance work. They had somehow gained access to the station's internal maintenance systems. Broken wiring, faulty oxygen scrubbers, unstable reactor nodes, all of it was being fixed. Worse, the station systems had actually started running more efficiently. What are they doing? Zeldar muttered. The commander looked equally perplexed. They appear to be improving the station, sir. Zeldar's frills darkened in alarm. Under whose orders? The commander hesitated. No one's. They seem to be doing it on their own. The room fell into stunned silence. Then alarms blared across the station. Escalation. The reports came in one after another. Sector 7's water filtration system, repaired and optimized. Sector 12's heating units, restored and upgraded. Sector 4's fusion generator, stabilized and output increased by 18%. The humans were hacking the prison's infrastructure. And they weren't even being subtle about it. Security teams were dispatched, only to return dazed and confused. The humans hadn't resisted. They hadn't even fought back. They had just explained things. I don't understand, sir, one of the guards reported, his tentacles curling in distress. They keep teaching us things. Useful things. Like what? Zeldar demanded. The guard hesitated, his chromatophores pulsing with confusion. They showed us how to fix the coolant system without shutting it down. Zeldar felt an unfamiliar sensation creeping through his exoskeleton. Fear. He turned to his intelligence officers. Find out exactly what else they've touched. A moment later, the screens flickered with the full damage report. Zeldar's breath hitched. The humans had altered everything. Every major system had been improved. Every critical failure point had been stabilized. Every piece of machinery now ran at peak efficiency. And then came the most horrifying realization of all. The humans weren't trapped inside the prison. The prison was now trapped inside a machine of their making. And they were the only ones who understood how it worked. Zeldar had made a terrible mistake. Zeldar's mandibles clicked anxiously as he reviewed the latest surveillance reports. The humans were not resisting. They were not escaping. They were working. They weren't just maintaining systems. They were redesigning them. The Korvax Dominion prided itself on its technological advancements, boasting some of the finest engineers in the galaxy. Yet here were 5 humans, prisoners no less, casually outperforming them inside their own prison. Where did they get the tools? Zeldar demanded, his frills flaring. A nervous technician glanced at the data. They, didn't, sir. What? They made them. Silence. Zeldar's bioluminescent eyes pulsed with alarm. They built tools? Yes, sir. From scraps. They've repurposed ration containers into welding torches, turned old maintenance drones into diagnostic scanners, and used wiring from the... Zeldar slammed his fist against the table. They were given zero access to equipment. How did they? A transmission interrupted him. Warden, there's a situation in Block 17. The hostile situation. The security feed flickered, revealing Chief Engineer Nathan Reyes standing at a power conduit, arms crossed, while 2 Korvax guards trained plasma rifles on him. In front of him, the conduit was open and exposed, but instead of damaged wiring, there was an advanced power redistribution array. The humans had upgraded the power grid. On their own. Zeldar activated the intercom. Human, step away from the conduit. Nathan didn't even look at the camera. He sighed as if dealing with a frustrated child. Step away from the conduit? Do you even know what this does? He asked. Zeldar's mandibles twitched in anger. I don't need to know. You. It rebalances the entire station's energy load, Nathan interrupted. You guys built this place with single-source power routing? That's insanely inefficient. One hit to the main reactor and boom, you're floating in space like an overpriced tin can. He gestured to the exposed wiring. I fixed it. Zeldar struggled to process what he was hearing. Fixed it? This wasn't theft. This wasn't sabotage. This was an engineer doing what engineers do. Zeldar's voice came out as a growl. You do not have authorization. Nathan finally looked at the camera. His gaze was steady, unshaken. Let me make something real clear, Warden. We could have escaped already. Silence. Every officer in the control room froze. Nathan folded his arms. You think we can't hotwire a door? You think we can't override a security lock? Hell, I've been in here 3 weeks, and I already know every critical failure point in your station. His expression darkened. If we wanted to, we could shut this place down in less than an hour. Zeldar's claws dug into the console. Then why haven't you? Nathan shrugged. Because we're not idiots. We fix things. That's what we do. He pointed at the guards still aiming weapons at him. But if you morons keep threatening us while we're trying to save your sorry hides, we might start reconsidering. Zeldar killed the transmission. His frills were glowing red with frustration. How? His voice was shaking. How have they done this? One of his officers hesitated. Sir, I believe we misunderstood these humans. Zeldar glared. The officer gulped and continued. We assumed they were soldiers or technicians, but these are engineers from a death world. They don't just repair things. They redesign them. They make them better. A realization hit Zeldar like a supernova. They had given humanity's most dangerous minds access to their most secure facility, and expected them to do nothing. He had trapped himself with them. And now he was no longer in control. The Korvax panic. Word spread quickly through the station. The prisoners weren't just cooperative, they were rewriting the entire way the facility operated. Gravity stabilizers? Running smoother. Ventilation systems? Doubled efficiency. Weapon lockers? Now locked with a new security encryption the Korvax couldn't override. By the time Zeldar's officers attempted to undo the changes, they found themselves locked out of their own systems. How? A technician wailed. They don't have computer access. The answer was horrifying. The humans didn't need access. They had physically rewired the system, bypassing digital locks entirely. That was when the first emergency distress call arrived. A Korvax fleet admiral had learned about the situation and was furious. You imprisoned Deathworlder engineers? The admiral hissed over the communicator. Zeldar's frills twitched. Yes, but... Are you insane? Zeldar recoiled. They're just mechanics. The admiral's spines flared in disbelief. They are not just anything. Do you have any idea what a Deathworlder mechanic can do? Zeldar swallowed. They're fixing things? The admiral's mandibles curled in terror. Then you're already doomed. The line cut out. Zeldar turned, feeling the weight of dread settle in his chest. The humans hadn't even tried to take over the station. But in fixing it they already had. Zeldar stood frozen in his command chamber, the admiral's last words echoing in his mind. then you're already doomed. He turned to his officers, but the room was filled with nervous glances and restless frills. They had all heard it. The Korvax Dominion feared humans as warriors, sure. Their soldiers had seen them in combat and respected their brutality. But the Admiral's panic wasn't about warriors. No, this was something much worse. They had caged engineers. And they had given them a problem to solve. Zeldar slammed a claw against the control panel. Find out everything they've done. Now. The technicians scrambled, scanning every system in the prison. But as the reports flooded in, their panic only grew. The humans hadn't just fixed things. The entire station's power grid was now modular and decentralized, preventing overloads and sabotage. The gravity field generators had been fine-tuned, making power consumption 80% more efficient. The ventilation system could now filter out toxins and pathogens at twice its original capability. The prison's automated turrets had been recalibrated, and now recognized Korvax signatures as threats. Zeldar's eyes widened in horror. The humans hadn't escaped because they didn't need to. They had already taken control. The human ultimatum. A loud chime rang through the control room. Incoming transmission. Zeldar hesitated before pressing the command key. The screen flickered, and there stood Nathan Reyes, the chief engineer of these so-called prisoners. He wasn't angry. He wasn't aggressive. He was bored. You finally done panicking, Warden? Nathan asked, arms crossed. Zeldar bared his fangs. You have overstepped, human. Nathan raised an eyebrow. Overstepped? Buddy, we saved your station. If it wasn't for us, this place would have collapsed under its own stupidity in a year. Zeldar's claws clenched. You are prisoners? Nathan laughed. Prisoners? We could walk out right now and you couldn't stop us. Hell, we locked you out of your own security systems. Zeldar's mandibles twitched. You can't be serious. Nathan leaned forward. His next words sent a chill through the entire command staff. Tell me, Warden, who's really the prisoner here? Silence. For the first time, Zeldar felt trapped in his own station. The Korvax scramble. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Zeldar ordered a manual override of the station. Nothing worked. The security doors wouldn't lock. The defense grid was disabled. The prison AI refused to obey Korvax commands. A technician shouted in alarm. Sir. The external comms, they're transmitting an SOS. Zeldar's frills flared. What? Shut it down. We can't. The technician's voice trembled. It's broadcasting across Dominion space. Zeldar turned to the monitor. There, on an open frequency, a message played. To any passing vessels, this is Chief Engineer Nathan Reyes of the Human Fleet. We were imprisoned by the Korvax, but we are now in control of their station. Any rescue would be appreciated. No rush, we have food, water, and frankly we're enjoying the free real estate. Then, with a smug grin, Nathan winked at the camera before cutting the feed. The room was dead silent. Then the incoming calls flooded in. A dozen human warships. Mercenaries looking for a payday. Even some Korvax factions eager to take advantage of their enemy's mistake. Nathan had not just secured their freedom, he had turned the entire Dominion against itself. Zeldar sank into his chair, defeated. The final decision. Nathan's voice returned over the intercom. So, Warden, let's talk. We've done some thinking. We don't actually want to leave. Zeldar's eyes snapped open. What? Nathan grinned. You see this station? It's useful. We like it here. It's got potential. But the problem is, you Korvax really suck at running it. He leaned forward. So here's our proposal. You work for us now. Zeldar nearly choked. Nathan continued, we'll keep improving this place and in return you'll follow our lead. Or, well, we could just vent the oxygen in the command center and take full control. Your call. Zeldar trembled with rage. You wouldn't dare. Nathan sighed. You still don't get it, do you? He turned to the camera and gestured behind him. A dozen other human engineers stood there, all smiling. You thought you captured warriors. You thought we were dangerous because of our strength. His grin widened. But you made the biggest mistake in the galaxy, you locked up problem solvers. Zeldar collapsed in his chair, his entire species' arrogance crumbling around him. The Korvax Dominion had always feared humanity's warriors. They should have feared their engineers. Zeldar sat in stunned silence. He had lost. Not to superior firepower. Not to military might. To engineers. Humans had taken his station, turned it into a fortress, and made it better in the process. His own soldiers were afraid to resist, his own systems refused to obey him. And now they were offering a deal. Or rather, an ultimatum. Zeldar's claws curled into fists. You expect me to surrender my command? Nathan Reyes sighed, leaning against the console like he had all the time in the universe. Because he did. Nah, the engineer said, smirking. We expect you to keep your job. Zeldar blinked. What? Nathan gestured lazily. We don't want to run this place. Too much bureaucracy. Boring meetings. You keep your fancy title, wear your silly little hat, whatever makes you happy. His grin turned razor sharp. But make no mistake, we run the station now. Zeldar's mandibles clicked in agitation. And if I refuse? Nathan raised an eyebrow and turned to one of his engineers. Hey Anna, how long would it take to vent the command center? A red-haired human woman tapped on a data pad. Oh, about 15 seconds. Zeldar's frills flared in alarm. Nathan chuckled. Relax, we're not gonna do it. That'd be inefficient. But you should know by now we hold all the cards here. The Korvax warden knew he had no choice. His entire staff knew it too. Slowly, painfully he lowered his head in defeat. What do you want? Nathan grinned. First order of business? What? We're sick of ration packs. Get us some real food. The sheer casual audacity of the demand made Zeldar's eye twitch. They weren't just taking over. They were making themselves comfortable. And the worst part? There was nothing he could do about it. The first days under human control. Word spread fast. The prison station, once a symbol of Korvax power, was now under human control. Not through war, not through bloodshed, but through problem solving. And that terrified the galaxy more than anything. The Korvax high command panicked when they heard the news. Military action was considered. But the station's defenses were now stronger than ever, all thanks to the very prisoners they had captured. Negotiation was attempted. But Nathan and his crew held all the leverage. Sabotage was planned. But the humans had already anticipated it, and countered every move before it happened. The Dominion had been outmaneuvered at every turn. And soon the rest of the galaxy took notice. The station's SOS signal had reached far beyond Dominion space. Independent traders saw an opportunity. If humans could turn a crumbling prison into a fortress, what else could they fix? Rebel factions started seeking alliances. If the humans could outthink the mighty Korvax, what else could they do? Other species, once afraid of the Dominion, began rethinking their loyalties. What had started as a prison uprising was turning into a political shift. And the Korvax knew it. The final conversation. Zeldar stood in his old command center. His command center now under human control. He glared at Nathan, who was sitting comfortably in the warden's chair. You're destabilizing the entire Dominion, the Korvax growled. Nathan shrugged. Not our fault, your system is fragile. Zeldar's mandibles clenched. Do you even understand what you've done? Nathan smirked. Oh, we understand perfectly. He leaned forward, eyes gleaming. You see, Warden, we humans have a saying, give us a lever and a place to stand and we can move the world. He gestured to the station around them. Well, you gave us a prison and a problem. And now we have leverage. Zeldar felt his blood run cold. They had never planned to escape. They had planned to take over. Nathan stood up, stretching. Anyway, we're thinking of rebranding this place. Korvax Penal Facility is kinda lame. We were thinking something like Horizon Station. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? Zeldar was silent. Nathan clapped his hands. Great. Now, be a good little administrator and make it official. Zeldar snarled but submitted. He had no choice. As he keyed in the command, renaming the station under human oversight, he realized something horrifying. The Korvax Dominion had just lost its most important asset, without a single shot being fired. And in its place, the first human-led stronghold in Dominion space was born. Epilogue. A message to the galaxy. Weeks later, a new transmission was sent from Horizon Station. Nathan Reyes appeared on screen, lounging in the warden's former chair. Hey Galaxy. Nathan here. So, funny story, turns out the Korvax really suck at running a station, so we decided to help out. Horizon Station is officially under new management. He leaned forward, smiling. Need something fixed? We'll do it. Need a safe place from Korvax rule? We've got room. Need a place where competence actually matters? Welcome aboard. He grinned wider. Oh, and one last thing. He held up a small Dominion security override key, and snapped it in half. To the Korvax High Command, you lost. You took engineers as prisoners. And now, we run the show. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were building. And nothing would ever be the same again. Indy. Rocket enjoyed this? Subscribe to the Void Narratives for more epic sci-fi tales. Rocket.